Hi. You're neither male nor female, right?
That's true. I identify as non-binary, which means that I'm neither male nor female, and correspondent to that, I use the they, them pronoun.
And you say gender roles are damaging our society, so we need to think very carefully about language, yeah?
Yes. So a lot of our social selves are codified and encultured in the language that we use. We really use it to construct our entire society. And what's certainly true is that there is a huge variance of gender presentation and gender identity within humankind. There isn't simply
humankind,
men and women. Exactly, humankind in place of mankind.
You wouldn't say mankind, that should be, you know...
I wouldn't, just because humankind is a more accurate descriptor, in the same way that me using they, them is a more accurate descriptor of my identity than using he or she.
Would you use Homo sapiens?
I very rarely in my life use scientific language to describe the people I work with.
Wise man, it means. OK. But it's something, do we need to think about that?
I think we should be thinking about the evolution of language to support gender neutrality.
Yeah, got you.
And that's for a number of reasons. The first of which is that it stops this assumption that either the most important people in the room are men or that the only people in the room are men. And secondly, it does include that wider spectrum of gender. There's an excellent quote by German linguist Louisa Pusch, who says that gender and language should be both comfortable and fair. And she was referring to German, which is one of the most strictly gender-codified languages in Europe.
German.
And English is not...
What's happening in German?
So German has a grammatical gender and a gendered pronominal system. So they use gendered pronouns and they have gendered nouns, and that's supported by the wider grammar of the language. But actually the German state is encouraging lecturers, professionals and industry to use gender-neutral language.
God,
a great example
if that had been back.
So in universities, a bit like the University of Hull, universities in Germany, their lecturers are using gender-neutral language to refer to students because it's inclusive of everyone and gives that space for trans people who are neither male nor female.
Yeah, it's a matter, Andrew, it's a matter of courtesy, this, and sensitivity, isn't it?
Courtesy is all very well. I mean, you're describing encouraging people to use certain words. My problem is when words are policed, when language becomes policed. That is my problem. I mean, look, we can all go back to... We can all go back. Those sorts of things, humankind or mankind, I mean, those are sort of interchangeable now. They're synonymous anyway. We're talking about when people actively, and it is a minority of activists, it really is a minority, seek to have people disciplined or sacked because they refuse to use language that they are imposing. That's not the evolution of language, that's the imposition of language, and I think that's problematic.
I think it really depends on the context. So you may, for example, balance perfectly grammatical.
But I wouldn't say, you hear what it said. That's rude, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say that it is dehumanising.
Yeah.
It shouldn't ever be a voice for the entirety of the trans community. Some people may self-select to use it, but it in general is quite a dehumanising approach.
Isn't this actually bad for women? The suffragettes would be appalled about this, wouldn't they?
Well,
they want women to be noticed. They want women to be out there. They want women to achieve and for other women to know that they have achieved.
It's really about
what about people who are non-binary? What about people who are gender fluid?
We're all male and female. We've always... Yes, of course, we're all male and female. There are
what about transgender people?
There are a tiny minority of people who have intersex conditions, and there are a tiny minority of people who have some condition where they may have a female brain and a male body. Apart from this, we are all male and female, and the attempt to suggest that there is a third gender is, as far as I'm concerned, it's an ideological and a political project. It doesn't exist. The words male and female have existed throughout history, throughout the world. They refer, men are people who have penises, women are people who have vaginas. It's as simple as that. I would absolutely refuse to refer to this woman here, who's clearly a woman, as a they, because for me that would be imposing an ideological, political system. Because she is. If everybody watching this programme can see that she is a woman. And that is imposing.
That's your problem. I think that's actually your
imposing.
You're imposing.
No, you are asking me to engage in an ideological, political system which I disagree with. I believe we are all male and female.
By what they should be called is imposing an ideological system.
No,
I really want to come back and address
just
some of the scientific inaccuracies.
Your respect for me is already diminished if you insist that I ascribe to some ideology of third gender which I do not agree with. If this he and she is socially constructed, how come everybody watching this, everybody in the audience, can basically identify male and female just by looking? Occasionally there are people who are more difficult to identify, and we try to be tactful, but it's not just socially ascribed. It relates to a physical reality reflected in our voices, our appearances, in all kinds of ways.
Isn't life a great spectrum? No? Don't you think? Someone must agree with me. Who wants to say something? You want to say something in a grey jumper. They want to say something.
They, yeah.
Are you they, or do I say she wants to say something?
I am a female. That's my belief system.
Do you want me to say she wants to say something?
And that is fine. However, the idea that you're saying that if this person chooses to say that they are they, that you can't engage with that because of your belief system. We live in a culture where lots of people have lots of different beliefs, as is very, very clear on today's show. We cannot say, I have this belief system, so therefore I'm going to impose it on everyone. In this, you can't do that. Like, she has a particular... They have a particular...
Very good.
Look, at least I accept that.
You know, this idea that there is an imposition of it, some people might say, well, when councils are doing it, or when universities are doing it, it is something of an imposition. And some people might be afraid to embark upon a sentence and then walk through eggshells until they get to the end of the sentence in case they say the wrong thing. And so it's not exactly liberating, it's constricting, isn't it?
Well, it's liberating people that are vulnerable.
Peter, now you work for the Daily Telegraph. I want your mission next week to go to the Telegraph and to convince the editor to use gender-neutral language from now on.
Nicky,
How will that go down?
The truth is, the Telegraph pretty much does use gender-neutral language. It doesn't use they, but it uses firefighter and it uses chair. Truth is, language is organic. It reflects the society that it comes out of, and you can impose bits of it, but ultimately, is they going to stick as a personal pronoun for one person? I kind of doubt it, because actually, that's not how most people see the world. And I think, you know, we're kind of right on the margin here. I'm father of 2 daughters. I think, actually, firefighter is better than fireman.
Yeah.
My 2 girls, if they want to work in the fire service, terrific.
Because it's accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should get too hung up. If you want to tie yourself in knots, ultimately, the arbiter of whether that works or not will be the way people use language, and they will accept it or reject it on a basis of common sense, because there's nothing more utilitarian than language.
And quite happily...
Belinda.
We mustn't lose sight of the fact that language does refer to a reality. As a writer, I'm very aware of this. It's very important. He, she refers to a male and female reality. And I think that there is something very serious at stake if we really do start eroding concepts of male and female, which I believe is happening. And